Alright guys, in this video we will be restoring the bike in front of you. This is a probably mid-1990s Bianchi Volpe, and this is a bike that's designed with wider cantilever brakes front and back for kind of outdoor gravel slash cyclocross use. And back then there's no such thing as a gravel bike, but nowadays you could very well categorize the Volpe as a gravel bike because it's got a fairly long chainstay, and it's also got a very wide opening front and back to clear some of the largest tires that you have for your gravel riding. And it's got plenty of mounting points for fenders and some other accessories as you need. Okay, so right here, fenders, front, bottom, and it's got a triple crankset, okay, which is pretty cool. Great for a lot of climbings, but over here in Miami we probably don't need a triple, but it does have a triple setup for easy gearing. And this bike features the Shimano's RSX Groupset. It's a full RSX Groupset, which is more or less like a Shimano Sora Groupset of nowadays. This is a 7-speed, okay, so the 8-speed RSX came out, I think, in the late 1990s. This is the 7-speed, so I'm thinking this is probably from 1995 to 1998. This is the classic dark or deep blue color. It's not a signature Bianchi, Celeste color pattern, but whatever, this bike is beautiful. Very abused, if you must say, because it looks like it's been left outside for quite a while. All the original bolts are rusted. Thank God the brake is still in pretty good condition, front and back actually, and there is no rust on the frame, so very good news. I could reuse the frame. Headset looks fine, fork looks perfectly fine. This is using the Bianchi's Superset 2 steel tubing, which is one of their popular tubings back then, and it's chromoly, so full steel, from including the fork. And some other components are actually aluminum to reduce weight, such as the seat post clamp, the seat post, and a aftermarket I think this is a specialized Roman saddle. So this does look like it's still steel, so this adds a little bit of weight. So if you want a weight reduction, consider some aluminum options that they have for those kind of cool headsets. But other than that, it does look like it needs brand new set of tires. Those are probably the original tire sets on there. So the restoration, what I always do with my restoration of bikes that I get, is first thing first, a general nice clean. Second thing, I'm gonna apply some synthetic motor oils on some of the rusted parts and just give the frame a general coating of the motor oil to prevent further rusting. And after that point on, I will be assessing on the condition of the components, but from a preliminary assessment, it does look like the components are all in actually fairly good shape. Probably just needs a new chain and some de-rusting on some of the steel parts, and it should be a very capable, very comfortable, full steel gravel bike of nowadays standards. And obviously I need to get the tires, but first thing first, we're gonna clean it. This is probably the next stage in the restoration process on this Bianchi Volpe, and I just find out about the year model of this one. This is a 1998. And in 1999, they switched the RSX from 7-speed to 8-speed. However, this one is the original one, which had the 7-speed RSX Groupset and the cassette, and as well as the RSX hub on the rail wheel. And the problem with that is I was thinking about upgrading the whole component group to maybe a used Shimano 105 Groupset. However, because of the wheel is a vintage 7-speed wheel. It's the free hub needs to be converted to 8-speed, and for the RSX, I cannot find any 8-speed compatible free hub for it. So in this build, I decided to just keep all the original RSX components, as well as the Alivio caliper brakes on the bike. So what I'm gonna do next, as I mentioned earlier in the last section of the video, all I'm gonna be doing, as you can see, I did a full cleaning of the bike with motor oil, and surprisingly, there are no rust on most of the components on this bike. The frame is perfectly fine. The only rust I can find at this moment is just on those steel bolts. The steel bolts are pretty rusted, but other than that, you know, the frame is surprisingly rust-free. And keep in mind, this is a made in Italy hand-built bike using the Superset 2 steel. Okay, so the Superset 2 steel features a oval shaped tubing at the bottom around here, and it just goes to the round, and then I think it reaches the oval shape somewhere else. But I think that's just the difference between the Superset and Superset 2, which uses a oval shaped tubing around this area for more rigidity on the bottom bracket design. So that's a difference. And again, keep in mind, this is not their high-end road bike. This is their general purpose, do-it-all, built like a tank road bike. So in terms of weight, it is not the lightest. Okay, so recently I just got a Giant Defy aluminum frame bike, and despite the fact it's being aluminum, that bike is so much lighter than this one. But that's a road bike with very narrow tire clearance. This one is a full-fledged gravel-capable bike that's built like a tank. At this point, the only thing that needs work is this RSX shifter. You don't hear any clicking sound. That's because this shifter is prone and known for having really old grease that's stuck on the lever engaging mechanism, make it not clickable. So many people, when they encounter this problem, they just want to sell the bike instead of fixing it, but it's actually a very easy fix with some of the components removed. You remove the gunk with some, mineral oil, whatever is necessary. It should shift just as good as new. And with proper grease, it shouldn't have that issue again. All right. So pretty much I'm going to be cutting all the cables. I'm going to be getting brand new shifting cables once we get the RSX group sets restored. And everything else, I'm going to keep it original. The seat, of course, is replaced, so it's not original, but it does look like everything else is really just original from Italy factory. And the Mavic MA2 wheels, this is the MA2 is actually a rim only build, so the wheel hubs are RSX. So RSX hubs on the Mavic MA2 rims. Supposedly this MA2 rims is also built like a tank and with good reputation. So yes, I'm really excited about what this bike is gonna become once everything is restored and is ready to ride. So just as I was about to do the ride to the park and wrap up this review, my front derailleur, front shifter cable snapped, literally snapped outside of my house. So I had to go back to the house, put on a new cable, and then continue the ride. So I think the reason is probably because I used a very cheap cable that I bought on Amazon for like less than $10. So don't cheap out on the shifting cable. But we're gonna ride to the park, and I'm gonna conclude this video on the Bianchi Volpe. So how does the bike ride? Fantastic. Rides like a road bike, agile, and excellent bump absorption. I love this Bianchi steel. Whatever they used is magical. Now I've owned another Bianchi before. It was a Campione d'Italia, I think. Fantastic bike. Unfortunately too big for me, so I had to sell that one. All right, guys, so I just did a test ride again to my local park, but there were some people over there, so I'm trying to wrap up the review of the Volpe right here. Fantastic bike. I honestly have no complaints besides the cantilever brakes. You know, I personally, I'm not a big fan of cantilever brakes. They just don't brake as efficient as a better designed V-brakes. Okay, so my first suggestion is to switch out the brakes, but they do work, they do stop, it just doesn't stop as efficiently as a V-brake. They do look much cooler than a V-brake though, right? And in terms of the RSX shifter and the Groupset, I really love it. This thing is built like a tank, it's full metal. I did a restoration on the old gunk and grease removal, so once you remove those old gunks, this thing is amazing. It actually upshifts 3 gears at a time. So pretty much you can go from gear 1 to the highest gear in 2 clicks. So 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7. So you go to the 7 and you're enough to climb all kinds of weird terrains here in Miami, right? And this one's even got a triple crankset. So I don't think you need this kind of crankset for a flat area like in, you know, South Florida, but there is an option there. So if you're riding the Everglades gravel path and there are some, you know, bumpy areas, you can definitely use this as honestly a very capable gravel bike, even with a 3x7 setup, and it's more than enough. Okay, tire clearance is very, very good. It's got a giant tire clearance here, but as you can see, I used a road bike tire. This is a 700 by 25. And again, I don't ride gravel that much. I'm selling my other gravel bike, the Giant TCX, and also selling this one since I just restored it and I had fun. I'm keeping my mountain bike as well as my old S-Works Roubaix road bike, just for, you know, it's an endurance bike, so just for road riding. So in terms of purpose, you really need to know what kind of bike you need for what kind of terrain that you're going to be riding on. It's not a gravel bike is the best bike for all kind of a thing. So what this bike is great is, yes, it's going to work great, fantastic as a road bike with proper tires. And it also works great as a gravel bike because of the current gearing setup and just how nice the entire geometry of this bike is built. You got actually a very long chainstay, as you can see, and you can see the clearance over here. So the wheel is actually really pushed behind to have a very long chainstay. Modern gravel bike setup actually. And the front angle, while not super relaxed, it's fairly relaxed. So you get control on tight, twisty areas, but you also get some sort of a balance between, you know, relaxed geometry and a super aggressive geometry. So I think this bike is built for people who just want one bike that does it all. And in that kind of a gravel territory, I think this bike is a great replacement. You know, if you don't fancy the hydraulic disc brakes, and if you're riding the flat area, really, you don't need a hydraulic disc brake, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts, and it's just so well built. I literally only replaced the cables. I restored the wheels, polished it. The original wheel is okay, but if you're capable of getting a better, lightweight, more robust wheel, like from the modern day, I think this bike is gonna be a fantastic keeper. Okay. And just lastly, I want to show you guys that Bianchi color scheme. It's kind of hard to see in this kind of lighting, but if you have a spotlight on this paint, it's a pearl luminescent color. It's a beautiful color. I know this is not their signature Celeste color scheme, but this blue, I'm telling you, it looks way better than many other blue bikes that I've seen from other brands. So Bianchi definitely have a spot in my heart, and of course I'm referring to the vintage Bianchis. The new Bianchis with carbon fiber everything, I mean, it kind of doesn't have that special old bike charm for me personally. And this bike is handmade in Italy and using the new TIG welding. The welding spot looks very, very nice. It almost looks like it's treated welding spot. It's not like those cheap TIG weld with like bumpy areas over here. It's like, it's just a beautiful welding, right? Superset 2 steel with oval tubing at the bottom bracket area keeps the entire geometry very rigid, but in terms of compliance, I'm telling you, you don't feel any bumps on this bike, even with the 700 by 25 seat tires. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. And if you did, please do hit the like button or subscribe to my channel. I will have more bicycle restoration videos as well as cycling videos coming out for you guys.